Here are the top 4 questions that you should be asking a seller when buying a couch from them. There's also a bonus fifth question, which I'll include at the end. It's a really good question, so make sure you stick around till the end. Before getting into the questions, it's important to realize why the questions are so important. As a couch flipper, you're an investor. Just like in any industry, you're trying to mitigate your risk and trying to understand what potentially could hurt the value of my product when it comes time to turn around and sell it. That's why we have these questions in place as a protocol to help mitigate that risk. Let's dive right in. Question number 1, are there any damages? That's a loaded question. And sometimes you get sellers who are dishonest, but in general, you want to ask that question to be able to figure out right up front if there's anything major. Now, sometimes there's minor things that I can work with, and sometimes there's things that I just can't. That's going to be up to you to figure out what you're willing to work with and what you're willing to just not work with and avoid altogether. Second question, are there any stains? Same thing here. Sometimes you can visibly see it in the photos, but sometimes you can't, depending on the quality of those photos. Asking that question is really important. And again, you have to decide what you're willing to work with. There's a lot of stains that can come out, but understanding what level of stains there are on that couch before deciding to buy it and before deciding what your buy price is going to be is definitely very important. The third question, is there any smoking in the house? This is an absolute non-starter for me. If there's any smoking in the house, I can almost bet that it's definitely going to be buried into the upholstery or into the leather or whatever it is that you're buying, whatever sectional or couch it is you're buying. So if there's smoking in the house, non-starter for me. That's up to you. If you think you can get that stain out or get that smell out, then have at it. Fourth and final question is, are there any pets in the house? If there's any pets in the house, then I have follow-up questions to that. Like, is there hair on the couch? Every time that a seller says that, oh, my dog isn't shed or the dog isn't allowed or the cat isn't allowed on the couch, personally, I call BS because every single time I've bought a couch, there's always been hair on it if there's pets in the house, whether they're allowed on the couch or not. I want to figure out how much hair there is on the couch. And I also want to figure out if that pet has damaged the couch, like cats scratching on the upholstery, ruining it. It's another thing to think about and ultimately help you calculate what your buy price is going to be. There's going to be a lot of work involved, removing the hair, removing the potential damages if you can remove them. So again, those are all things you need to figure out and factor in when deciding whether or not to buy a couch. All right. So the fifth and final question, which is a bonus question. I told you guys this would be a good one. The fifth question is the price negotiable? Every single time you have to ask this question, because guess what? You never know unless you ask. And the answer is always going to be no if you don't ask. I can't tell you how many times I've actually ended up getting a better deal on a couch just by simply asking this one question. Always ask that question. All in all 5 questions, I have to tell you, every time that I've left out one or more of these questions, I've always found myself being surprised with some kind of a damage or something that I just completely didn't even think about. And I always go back and look at my conversation with the seller and I realize I didn't ask them if they had pets or whatever it is that I got surprised by. Always remember to ask these questions, have a specific process to your buying procedure, and you should do just fine.